Okay,
All
thank you.
right. Welcome back, viewers, to our another exciting episode of our podcast series, the Young Turk Dialogues by Crobstacle. This is our episode number 81, and today we have a very amazing guest with us, Dr. Mohan B. Rao. Thank you so much, sir, first of all, for joining in on this episode. You have taken the time to deliver value to our audience. So, for our audience, मैंने सर से काफी बातें की हैं before getting him on the episode, and the experience is very vast. इतने decades का experience है that most of us were not even born when he started working. So, how are you feeling, sir?
Wonderful and great honor, Anmol. I
The
feel good
pleasure
in
is
front of the
ours, sir,
camera with you.
to have you here.
Mm.
So मैंने एक चीज देखी for our audience of entrepreneurs, marketers who are watching this. So सर के साथ जब मेरी initially में बातचीत हुई तो it was very interesting to discuss things. तो like you will feel कि सर काफी ज्यादा एक्सपीरियंसेस आते थे, बट सर जिस तरीके से हमारे यंग लोगों के साथ कनेक्ट करते हैं, सो इट फील्स कि हाँ सर भी हमारे साथ के ही है. तो आज बातचीत भी उसी लाइंस में होने वाली है. We are going to be discussing a lot about marketing, from academics to industry, and then marketing, branding, education. And the best part is sir exactly knows in the current trends ki social media kya hai, kaise chalta hai, how you deliver results, so everything. So this is going to be an eye opening episode for all of us who are watching this, and for our audience, this is a good one episode, guys. So इस episode के लिए I request you put in a lot of engagement, and let's start with sir. तो sir आपका introduction तो मैं दे नहीं पाऊंगा because it is so vast. I won't be able to do justice. मैंने अंशिता को बोला कि वो कुछ बना के दे, but it wasn't working that well. So why not you only begin a bit about it?
Yeah, so I'll start with a very pointed one, and I'm a jotter refill.
ठीक है sir.
Jack of all trades and master of marketing.
Yeah.
Marketing has been in my blood. The day I popped into this world, back, and I spent about 24 years in the industry. I was with Godrej, with mathematics, and then later on Visionet. And 2002, somebody pushed me to education, saying that you got to return back to society. 2002 onwards, I've been in education. Till 23, I was with institution which we built from scratch, called Indian Education Society, Manman College Research Center. It's part of a huge establishment of 75 schools, an architecture college and one man college. So we built it from scratch from 2002 onwards. And 22 onwards, I've been now with SIWS, equal large institution, having huge 10,000 plus students with the South Indian Welfare Society in Mumbai. So it has been very exciting, and I've had several experiences of connecting the industry to academia. Academia goes to industry every time, but as industry listen to them. So that has been my attempt for the last 20 years in getting that happen. And I'm very glad that I could make it happen. And all because of one important trait called marketing. मार्केटिंग हम बोलते हैं पूछने में क्या जाता है.
Correct.
राइट, आगे से बोलेगा तू नालायक हो, ये हो, जो भी बोलेगा सुन लेंगे उसको. उससे आगे भी हमारे पास उसके लिए खबर है. तो दैट क्यूरियोसिटी, द way to look at things has always been part of me. So I don't say I'm gifted. I've learned this the hard way. Because none in my family are from marketing profession. None are from business as such. They're all from services family. My father was the government of India in Delhi. Everybody from services family. Nobody joined a company the way I did. So this much over to you, Amol. Yeah. I hope I could summarize to you. Yeah.
नहीं नहीं काफी समराइज था. आई थिंक दिस इज गुड इनफ फॉर आवर ऑडियंस टू बिगिन विद. बाकी तो वी सेंड आउट द ईमेल्स टेलिंग एवरीवन दैट डॉक्टर मोहन बी राव इज कमिंग, सो एवरीबॉडी हैज योर लिंक्डइन प्रोफाइल, सो दे कैन इजीली कनेक्ट विद यू वाया देयर. सो सर लेट अस बिगिन. आपने इतना कुछ काम किया है, एकेडमिक्स टू इंडस्ट्री, इंडस्ट्री टू एकेडमिक्स, व्हाट नॉट यू हैव डन. इतना सालों का एक्सपीरियंस है. हम सब तो उतनी उम्र भी नहीं है जितना आपका एक्सपीरियंस है. सो लेट अस बिगिन विद योर जर्नी. आपने जब स्टार्ट की, क्या चैलेंजेस थे उस टाइम, कैसे स्टार्ट हुई, फिर आपने क्या किया, लेट्स टॉक, बिकॉज सबकी जर्नी यूनिक होती है. लेट्स टॉक अ बिट अबाउट इट.
Good. Thank you so much. I think that's a very wonderful question. And a long time I'm finding a very challenging question to answer. Right. After I completed my graduation in BITS Pilani way back in 78, right, until 24, 25 now, 25 is already popped in. So with so many years, I've seen 5 industrial waves in India. If you look at the way things have changed. So the initial years, 70s to 80s, I call it as the industrial consolidation and manufacturing era. An era where family businesses became prominent, like the Birlas, the Tata, the Godrej's became very prominent. And plus also, we were excelling in manufacturing. So we had that big challenge of import substitution, we don't want to import Deshi karna hai. So that manufacturing took a huge turn. So that was one phase. Quickly came the big revolution, which actually changed India, the IT and service revolution from 90s to 2000, where we saw India emerge as a software services, kind of a behemoth. And also we had discovered and faced the Y2K problem, the dot-com problem, the dot-com crash, all that happened in the 92,000. So it was a huge phase. Quickly came, close to that was telecom and digital connectivity phase, the 2000, 2010, where all brands started emerging. Like for the internet, for the internet, they came into the market and all those things are emerging. And we had unique challenges of connecting the country to one goal. And close, not that it match with my changes, but close were 2000, 2020, where we had the education coming in as an industry, right? And a brand. So you could hear, earlier we could only hear IITs and IIMs and the regional engineering college, which became rechristened as National Institute of Technology. So we heard of a few of them. But then the post 2010, right, there were all these education came as an industry, as a brand, and they got recognized also. And now, last 2020 onwards, we are faced with the social media and what we call as a fourth industrial revolution. I'm here, you heard of I 4.0. Right? So all that we are confronted with, and social media and education. Again, we don't thank the pandemic, but we say the pandemic brought in a revolution in education. People discovered that how they can connect to the world without having to do physically. And of course, it never eliminated the physical presence completely at all. And so when you put this all together, three things that come to my mind. What stayed constant in all these five phases, right, is need for innovation, leadership, and ethics. So in all these 5 phases, we had innovation, we had leadership and ethics common. Nothing changed much. But what fundamentally changed was very important, right? In each of the phases, we found technology pace was changing. Okay, and especially over the last 5 years, if you see, it's a phenomenal technology pace going on, right? And that's what keeps me also younger, you ask me that way. So students get younger, technology keeps you.
आपका एक्सपीरियंस इज लाइक फॉर लाइक इतने सारे डेकेड्स एंड अभी क्या है जो अभी हम जैसे यंग जनरेशन वाले अभी हम क्या बातें करते हैं लाइक इन द मोस्ट even in events and all when I'm going, so younger people are saying that chat GPT has come, it will replace you, but then I tell them that you go and talk to yeah, it will not replace, it will act as a tool for you to grow better, to become better. Then I tell them, see, you go and talk to someone who has survived for the last 5 decades. He will tell you exactly what is going to happen with ChatGPT. It is not something that is replacing you. But in the market, they have, embedded this in the mind of students in such a way that if you don't know ChatGPT, so आपने तो survive किया, so you know all the 5 decades, 4 revolutions, and now witnessing.
Correct. And what also was changing was the customer expectations.
Correct.
The customer expectations were 40 years back, and now the volume has changed. Expectations are same. The value चाहिए, मुझे अच्छा product चाहिए, but expectations, there's so much competition, so many brands. Correct. You take, say, Jam, see 120,000 competitors in Jam only. Right. And not from outside, within our country itself.
Within our country itself.
So all the so-called brands from the villages have now come in front. So it's a way. And what is very important is that each of these phases, have brought a spirit of unlearning it. Correct. We have to unlearn how we are managing. From top down चलता नहीं है आजकल. चलेगा ही नहीं. Bottom up चलेगा. So bottom up को how do you ensure your boss agrees with you? Right. Second is that the curriculum in education was static for a long time. I don't want to mention, but the syllabuses were not being changed for 30, 40 years. Marketing changes on every 6 months. How you can have a same static syllabus, right? And more importantly, the organized structures became very fluid.
Right.
right? You used to have a dean, associate dean structure, MD, SHMD. Now that everything has become completely region specific and organization specific, right? So if you look at it, there's a huge thing which, and in my time we had computers, we had calculators, but we never got emboldened by them. हम कुछ उससे प्रभावित नहीं हुए कि हमारा क्या होगा. In fact, just to tell you very interesting, when internet came, right, and we were in Godrej at that time, right, all of us thought we lose jobs, right, and close to that, Dell came in with the disintermediation strategy of removing dealers completely from the market. तो हम लोग बोला हमारा क्या होगा, तो हमने बोला तो क्या होगा, कुछ नहीं होगा, अच्छा ही होगा. Use technology to help you to move forward.
Right.
So so even AI today, we all think ChatGPT will replace us. No, sir, it's an enabler for us.
Enabler for us. Correct. The right word is enabler.
Yeah. So the way we survive with all these things, move on, our life is not. See, we cannot become. I don't want to name countries, but countries are emboldened by it, so they become very docile countries. We are not that way. Sorry, I can keep on speaking. Unfortunately, I'm a lecturer for a long time.
No, it is good. It is good. We are getting a lot of information. So, like journey from IT, industrial, and then products to management, education strategy, and now consulting as well. So, how do you look back to this evolution? Of it is
Wonderful.
like 5 decades, I will say 4 to 5 decades.
I don't want to compliment you at the end, but I want to compliment you here only. Your questions are very soul searching and very thought provoking. So,
Thank you, sir. Means a lot. I
and
hope.
yeah,
I
so
hope now
in
the
these
audience.
few seconds, I'm structuring my answer also for you. So, right. So, you look at my the journey in the company, right? The company I work with the Godrej, Datamatic, Dishnet, all these companies. That time we were involved in selling solutions, right? We are not selling products. That's one which is common in all the 5 phases. If you look at it, those sell products didn't last for long. We were selling solutions. But again, in that process, what we were doing also was problem solving, right? We were trying to hitch on the creativity of our team, right? And we were resolving customer issues in a very proactive manner, right? So what I was dealing was with a kind of an organization. Then I found out, right, looking at my own education, looking at my own strides, right? Why should I address project-based outcomes? Why don't I start going to the students, right? And the good news was I was teaching also in NITI in all these places when I was doing experience. Teaching in NITI, which is now called IIM Mumbai, I was teaching in NM, SP Jain, all the colleges I was teaching, including IIT I was taught, right? Along with my work experience. Then I said it's better for me to come back and start creating an impact through education on the people. The people who are going to make India the future. Right.
Right.
So how do I do that? So that's why I stepped into education. And here, the selling IT solutions required problem solving, as I told you. Storytelling, because marketing mein, everything is by story. It's not by any concept, stories. And very strategic insights. These help me to transfer it to academia and institution development. Right? So I didn't walk into education to teach theory. Right?
Mm.
I'll be happy to tell you that I use active, later on I'll tell you when it comes appropriate time, active learning, where you're learning with the student and teaching with the student, right? So I walk to bridge the gap between industry demands and what the campuses deliver. So in the process, I help institutions to do branding, right? Innovation, futuristic ready solutions. What is futuristic ready? And launching new programs, connecting globally, a lot of global collaboration that I did, and building strategic alliances. So, how did all this happen? Just to give a couple of thoughts before I close this part for you to go ahead, is that I transferred corporate discipline to academic ecosystems. When I joined IES, with due respect to our system, we followed the human resource policy and leave record of corporates. Typically you'll find all the colleges closed in May, June for vacation. Then they have winter vacation. Then they have Diwali vacation. We said no. There's no vacation. The faculty can have a choice of 30 days anytime during the year. So we spend our time, whenever there were vacation of students are not there, we spend our time in strengthening our institution. By thinking of more courses, developing courses, connected to industry. Industry doesn't close during vacation.
Right.
Right. So we also did that in a very nice transition manner. And more important was I saw these students not as learners but my customers. See, again, a marketing thought. And
Marketing thought.
we could make and we could make everybody, whether finance, HR, everybody think that our student is our customer. Because his or her feedback we have to take. So we started a feedback process.
With the
Right?
students or their parents?
I'm telling you, way back in 2002 when I joined.
So
But
this
now,
process was
yeah,
with the students only or with their parents as well?
parents also.
Parents also.
Okay. I don't want to boast, but we were the first institution in India, best of my knowledge, which got ISO 9000 2004. And remember the date, 14th August 2004. Right?
Just one day before
It
independence.
took a lot of time to convince our traditional management about ISO, but then we got a standard to follow.
Right.
Right? How do we bring standard teaching practices? How do we do all that? So this is where I always thank the entire management of IES because they were all teachers then. They were all teachers who were coming into positions of trustees. But they're open to listening and doing these things. And that's how change happened. Right? So in terms of that, when you look at my roles as advisor, consultant to Taiwan and chairman of CI till March of the Western region, the education task force, right? I showed how to scale up my whole impact from my classroom to institution to the nation, across the nation. I created in CI itself, created signature events called the CI Global Education Conclave. Again, done from Bombay, not from Delhi. Right? We had the Pan India debate competition from across country from here. And we also created an education excellence forum of connecting the industry to the academia.
So, sir,
Right?
in
So
this, I
all
would
this
like
was
to ask,
go ahead.
you have taken such big
Sorry?
initiatives. So, from a perspective of a
Yeah.
marketing person, you being a marketing person, how did those thoughts
Yeah.
came to you? That innovation came to you? That see, if I do something like this, because at that time data was also not available readily because internet was very new. Right now, we as marketers we take
Yeah.
decisions on the basis of data. So, this is something that I find very interesting and like a lot of innovation, lot of different kind of efforts have gone into. So, let's touch base a bit on this because it is new for most of the audience who is watching it because that time was very different. This
Very
time
good. So it is called differentiate or die.
okay,
Unless you differentiate, you are gone. Right.
got it.
And you have to do in what is called as the lateral thinking. This is what I tell management institutes and even engineering college. I'm associated through AICT. I'm the regional coordinator for AICT. Right?
Okay.
We tell them that you have to think differently. You can't think in the same way. Remember we had blue ocean strategy and all the big. उसको जब अच्छा नाम दिया पर वो है कि अलग से सोचो हमको कैसे बनना है how do we excel ourselves, right? When you look at IES, you are a school, we have 75 schools and a college of architecture. How do we differentiate ourselves? We have to follow syllabus of the government, everything, but how do we differentiate ourselves? Right?
Right.
So that process is very simple, sir. In marketing बोलते हैं ना, सभी टूथपेस्ट बेचते हैं, सभी टीवी बेचते हैं, पर सोनी क्यों 10 गुना दाम में बेचता है? गोदरेज का कबर्ड अभी भी it's the most valuable asset in West Bengal, right?
Okay.
So
So
unless we differentiate, we will go out. So this is the marketing, should say, one part of the entire evolution and the way I came into the market. So unless I'm different from somebody else, even when I'm selling products, I have to be different, and I should learn how to get the value out of it. Right. So one thing I learned very simple is that if you start a low price, you remain there only.
correct.
Right. And if you start a high price, you're discounted. And this I learned in Godrej. Right? So Godrej told us a number of times that don't sell your product discounts. So you're discounting the brand.
Correct.
Okay, so these concepts remain in the entire process. As I told you, for me, the adaptation of those be the industry to education environment. And what was ours in IES we could do and we could show results. So management gave us all the flexibility to do it the way we want. Anything you want to say? Yeah.
No, main thing was like to understand the thought process, how at that time the things were happening. Because right now we always say in marketing that we refer to data. because we are data driven, all of those things. But that time it was different. We did not have internet at that scale now, like how we have right now. We did not have AI. So idea generation itself in these kind of things was very different. So that was the key thing that I wanted to understand. So in terms of
Yeah,
like,
but difference among was that time we had to uh, interpret data and search for it from the market.
right,
Today it is readily available.
more of like
Okay,
calling and
so
understanding from other
uh,
people.
so the
Back.
challenge becomes much more now. So you'll have more competition brands than otherwise.
Right.
So moment I come with the product, I'll have within a few seconds I'll have 10 other competitors with me.
So from your perspective, like you have worked on solutions for like services
Yeah.
versus products, which is highly scalable.
Services. Both are scalable.
Both are scalable. Now these days people say on online, if you go, so if you type on the internet that how scalable are services businesses, so everybody says it is hard to scale a service business as you grow, your manpower increases. There are so many things, and everybody in the end says that
For that, you
product.
require three important things, just to bring some why is services scalable. Not debating with you, not debating with you. You have to have a very clear value proposition. Okay. Either you are doing value for money or value of money. Value of money is that when I buy 1 rupee, I buy the company in my pocket. Right? That means there is a low quality product. We have to mass market. The value for money is where the value is the quality that a customer perceives. So in the value for money, you can scale the whole thing very high, as by adding different products and making it higher. In value for money, you're limited by the mass market, the way I see your product. So the scalability is not possible there. So if you keep the product cheap, then scalability is difficult. And yeah, there are several brands. I don't want to name brand because you're on a podcast. So there are ways of looking at it. Right? How do you? Then comes your communicating consistently and authentically.
Mm.
See, your services, if they're authentic, you can scale them. Somebody ratifies it, somebody gives a testimonial to you, somebody, gives you confirmation what you're doing is right, then you're able to scale it. Okay, so
Right.
just these two thoughts came there. Go ahead, please. Yeah.
No, got it. No, it is good. Actually, good. Some different perspective that I got, because on the internet, everybody says the same thing. Everybody is being a sheep and following it. That services businesses are not scalable. They're hard to scale and all of those things. So, but for you, like you have done a major transition here, IT solutions, then education, and now social media AI. So how is that going? Like now you are with, so you have a backdrop with SIW as group of institution. You told me about their social media, so let's discuss a bit about all of these things. How is it for you from your perspective?
No, for me it is challenging, right? And as I told you, one of the interesting things that I learned, one of the ways I transition to education, also forgot to mention, is that when you teach students year by year, they go younger year by year. They don't go older. You and I go older, but the students go younger. So that keeps the whole agility in space. So a person like me who was just not looking at the classroom, right, was just not looking at the institution, was just not looking at the city, the country, the nation, the world. For me, the challenge was what is that keeps me agile? Okay,
Mm.
and so I learned what should I say by trial and test method, right? And constantly, when I fail, it's a point of success for me because I learn where not to do mistake again. So the whole story is that what I learned in corporate was that there you go to there are defined structures to work on. Here I got the educational freedom. Right? I used to tell my director that you can't enter my classroom unless without knocking. I am a director of my classroom. Right? I will do what I want. So how do I do it? Right? So the whole journey came by my use of active learning. One, I don't know if you have heard of Harvard, it is there. It is practice. That's how the international brands are so way ahead in terms of that. So we adopted this active learning very early for teaching. Okay, where we taught subjects not in terms of typical theory, but by application. Okay, so if I give an assignment to some student, They have to go in the field. They have to go and search the dealers or products or companies, connect with them, and come back after doing the assignment. So it is very different how to make them work and do it. So this my industry experience helped me to give confidence to students to connect with the industry. Okay.
Which is very
Now you may say
important.
why others are not doing it. Yeah, why others, that's a different matter. As I told you, I don't know if you have heard some of my things on this. I say, learn to compete with yourself. I have no competition, sir.
It's me
Okay,
versus me.
and I follow Kiran Bedi also. She's one of my very the person I follow amazingly. And also, there's a thing of both manufacture Raymonds. Learn to compete with yourself. So there's no competition for me. Whatever I do to see better of myself and ensure the student is better. So I always saw a student as a learner. So storytelling was a constant thing. So now brands after social media has come, they started developing stories. They was never there before.
Correct.
So we
Now,
used to have, we used to, before the AI share came, before social media came, right? We used to have, participate in all the IIM conferences, not to understand what they're doing, but how they're doing.
right.
Right. And get the feedback from different faculty who come attend and say, "Wahan kaise hua, kya hua? Can we bring some of those things to our place here? What can we do different?" Right. One of the earlier solutions was to get an IIM professor to come and teach here. But that's a very short period. How will we see it impacts everybody? So this whole process was one of expanding ourselves everywhere. And we not only sent faculty, we sent students also.
Right.
Students also. I am Ahmedabad, to I am Calcutta, to I am Bangalore. We send students also. So let them also experience what the difference is. Most of us say that they are all the top elite colleges, right? But once you go inside, you find out all are same, right?
Correct.
So how do you differentiate yourself? How do you move so that the industry experience and the confidence that I can take my student to industry? Okay. Now I also, because of that, a number of occasions were there where we wrote to Philip Kotler, marketing guru,
Okay. Philip Kotler. Yes,
saying that
yes. Father of
saying that
marketing.
your concept. Yes. So the concepts, we challenged some of these concepts, okay, by Indian examples. And we wrote to him, right? Now, he
Did he
didn't
got us?
respond because he gets millions of mails, right?
Right.
But we wrote to one guy called Frederick Forswith. I am a B2B guy. I'm I'm expert in key account management. So we wrote to Frederick Forswith, father of industrial marketing. Webster, the father of industrial marketing. He responded back. He said, read this page number so and so in my book and read this paragraph and see the context of that. He replied our mail, right? And then we read it. He responded back to him. He replied, yeah, you're right. This does not apply to the, because we consider B2B in a large, high turnover companies. But India is small. I'm
Correct.
talking about the period of 2010 to 2020. Sir, we also wrote to Frederick Forswith, the father of CRM. कि तुम जो CRM बोल रहे हो, it applies only to big mammoth organizations. We require something else here.
Correct.
And they responded back. So we could, the conference, the dialogue with people who you can't reach. So I told you, na, sir, first beginning, पूछने में क्या जाता है?
करेक्ट.
वो
पूछोगे नहीं पता कैसे
उसका
चलेगा.
कॉन्फिडेंस, हाँ, तो हमारे बच्चों में कॉन्फिडेंस लेके आए कि हम आपका करेंगे. वी राइट टू देम, व्हाट इज दैट? जवाब नहीं आएगा, इसका मतलब ये नहीं कि आप सही हो. आपने
Right.
पूछा तो जवाब नहीं दिया, आपने कॉन्फिडेंस जो है पूछा आपने. Okay, so the confidence building exercise was a common thread across all my teaching. Whatever I
Right.
teach, the student should be confident. It's not amount I teach. It is what I give the confidence for them to emulate and move ahead. Sorry, you
Right.
can move. Please go ahead. I don't know if I
So,
answered your question, but
no, it is good. I got the answer. So, आजकल के टाइम में education itself has become a product. I live in Dehradun. Dehradun is an
yeah,
education. यहाँ पे graphic era, it has grown so fast in last 20 years. They have right now 35,000 students spanning across 4 campuses. Either UPSS. So they have transformed their whole model. So last time I was in a seminar there, so they have transformed their model from a education institution to a startup based institution. So they are into
Right.
startups, their ecosystem they are building in such a way that every student that I talk to, like, I cannot tell you even how competitive they are in terms of startups, their ideas. So it is totally different. So it has become a product, education. So what's your take? How should educational institutions think like brands when it comes to positioning and communication? Because in the current era, again, competition is high, so it is a must.
The challenge comes for the traditional institutions. The ones which are coming off late over the last 10 years, they don't have as much challenge as the earlier ones like us, Somaya, or MDI, Management Development Institute in Gurgaon. The point is that today, earlier we had one-dimensional narratives. Now there are multi-dimensional narratives and a dynamic. Right? You have so many social media channels, you've got other media channels, you've got other ways of community accesses. It's huge actually, moving more and more. Right? So uh, the modern approach is that you have to have a facet of a school identity. You have to create identity for yourself, a product identity, right? By
Right,
which people are able to identify you, and that identity has to be the aspirations of your students and the industry, right? The way you told me about graphic era is that they could align themselves the aspiration of the student and the industry, right? When I create the startups are going to be the industry.
right,
Right? They're going to feed themselves, right? Or if you don't have, you've got a huge rural market, market which is going to consume what you're going to do. Provided you have the where and the will to do it. So the determination to do it, right? And harnessing the experience. See, when you create a startup kind of, all of us have tried. Even I tell you later on, even we have also we also introduced a course on entrepreneurship, right? But since when you have a kind of a initiative on startup creation in your institute itself, at least you're committed to success of student. So student feels it and is part of it. So that itself creates the so-called dynamic, to make things happen. So this ecosystem that is created. So today, institute I don't want to name as you name, but I want to name that there are number of institutions across the country who have used this model of incubating startups and all those things to expand their business across different areas, right? Because you understand what a startup requires. It requires not only entrepreneurial skills, it requires art skills also. Should be creative, should be problem solving. How do you do that? So it is liberal arts. It requires engineering. It requires some kind of infrastructure, some kind of industry. So create engineering streams, right? You also his products are useful in medicine. So you start medicine stream. So people have expanded the business into these areas because the way you start. So the traditional ones who are doing well now, right, are those who have created the startup eco culture in the institute itself. So the startup eco culture is a very positive development, I would say. Again, this goes all credit to our current Prime Minister Narendra Modi,
yes,
right? It is he who really triggered it to make it happen. That's why we have so many unicorns, and not only unicorns, we have lakhs and lakhs of startups who are vying for the top position. So this whole startup culture, sir, is the is a positive way if you look at it. Is in the education environment, like say your university are coming up now, right? Where they are having startup as a key part to focus on. That will help us to expand.
right.
I don't know if I have addressed your problem,
No, no,
but
it is addressed well. The,
or I've
so
gone on a tangent.
right. So there is one thing which is power of teaching. You know, there is huge impact of the teachers that have taught us to date. If I talk about starters, we have mentors, we have investors, we have anyone could be a teacher. There are so many people that we learn from. Depends on the perspective of the entrepreneur, of course. So, but there is a lot of power in teaching. So, like role of inspirational influence, because teaching, if somebody teaches me something, it influences my mindset. Like, let's say if I look up to someone who is my mentor, and when I go and meet them, so whatever they say, I will trust them. So it has a lot of impact. Then transformation also happens of an individual through teaching. Like
Yes.
right now, AI is there. If we do not learn it, either we go out of the market, we will become redundant, or we use it as a tool, like how you use the calculator. If I don't use a calculator in this way,
Yes.
people would have seen me. What is he's doing? Why is he calculating on piece of paper when we have a calculator? Or if for the sake computer. Computer has become such a necessity, but still there are so many people who don't know, and then they complain that I am not getting a job or I am not able to get into
Correct.
the industry. And I have seen, like, even institutions like from where I've been, from Graphic Era, there are candidates who don't know still how to use an Excel or PowerPoint properly. So there is, lot of power that teaching carries. So what's your take on it? Because you yourself
Yeah,
have
so
been.
I would so I would say from my 20 years in fully teaching and plus another 15 years earlier I was being part-time teaching, that the teacher is a transformational agent. Okay. And I always say that there has to be a parent in a teacher also. See, teacher by itself is fine. There should be parent in teacher also. Teacher should care for the student. Why am I giving you the assignment? Why am I giving you this test? Why am I asking you to go and do the project in the field? The teacher should vibrate the inside of the student. Then only it will work. And as I don't know if you've heard uh, Zakir Hussain. I'm also a tabla player. One of my role models, Zakir Hussain, he mentioned that the first is students should be interested to learn.
Correct.
Not teacher relevant. Okay, so you have to assume student interested to learn. That's the world it is. You can't say if the interested students they won't raise their hands at all, right? So issue is how do you create that? So second is you have to go beyond the classroom. Whether we're teaching mathematics, and I tell you when Bits Pilani is where mathematics was completely different, right? Right from Bits Pilani, XLR everywhere, we had open book, open notes, right? Nothing is closed book. Life is open book, sir. Where's closed book, right?
Correct.
And you teaching adaptive learning. Whether it is calculators, whether it is computers, it's AI, and something more will come after this for GI,
AGI.
God,
Yeah.
God intelligence, right?
Yes.
God's intelligence, I will say, right? So it's anything will come, but you should know how to adapt yourself. You can't be consumed by it. And next is lifelong learning skills, right? What are lifelong learning skills? That whatever you are doing, you have to polish yourself, right? So I will very humbly say that whether it was in Godrej, Datamatic, Dishnet, including IES, I have attended continuously about 15, 20 programs to upgrade myself, upskill myself, right? Not in terms of getting degrees, but short program because I cannot afford to leave college and company and do it. Constantly upskill yourself, right? And make yourself useful in terms of being currency of technology. Now, as a teacher, what I did differently and which was emulated by a lot of faculty around in IES was that we used to give assignments which have got industry perspective in it. Ultimately, I'm talking about 2-year MBA. In the 2 years, how much they're going to teach theory to them, right? So we also brought in the concept of ensuring that every every course or subject, as you say, has an element of assignment related to industry, right? And we should be careful amongst ourselves that we don't repeat the same industry every time. One. Second was that how much will you teach? Let them also learn by themselves. So we introduced self-learning courses. Okay. So at that time, Swayam was there, Coursera was there, Udemy was not there at that time. Coursera was more prominent. So we used those existing models for people, students to use. By the pandemic had not stuck then. Okay, it was 2020 later the pandemic came. Before that, from 2015 to 2020, we used self-learning courses. Ask them to go and do what you want to do. What do you want to learn, right? So we had a few students who learned Islamic banking,
Okay.
right? They were not the Muslim students; they were the and they got employment in a bank from UAE, right? They could understand how to use that concept to start getting yourself different in the market. So the whole issue is that when we are teaching some things, right? So the way I have been teaching was that I explained to you a couple of exercises, right? I used to attach a brand to them. Okay? A group of 5, 6 students, give them Nike. Another 5, 6 students, give them Adidas. Group of 5 students, give them LG. That give them brands. And ask them to approach the company in that 3 months, not 6 months, 3 months, right? Approach the company, contact, right? Because you do marketing. If I go to get people to ready-made answer my question, there's no marketing. So you have to market yourself that I want this information, I want to connect with you. right? In those times, internet was not so very active, right? Right? So they could collect information and come back with assignment, right? And number of dealers. So we, for the project, final project, we used to invite the dealer of the brand to our campus. Please come and see what he or she is saying. And when we are lucky, we had the company executive also come and attend the presentation.
Got it.
So it used to be a kind of a exercise where students found that industry is there, the market is there, and I am there. Right? And always, one interesting thing I learned in my life, and I told my students, they are all my mentees, many of the mentees, कभी लाइफ में नो मत बोलो, यस बोलो, हो जाएगा काम, सम कुछ तरीका निकलेगा काम करने के लिए. So never say no, right? That spirit we could generate, and the coming down to the teaching, I was doing marketing, but I used to find people teaching finance, HR. Also, we used to request them also to do same models, right? They tried their best, but we used to always network amongst the faculty. Let's have a mentee, right? Mentee may be a finance mentee. How much did he or she absorb marketing? How much he or she absorb HR? We used to have exchange amongst ourselves, and we used to do group mentoring. Right? It's not Monra only. You have 4-5 faculty and you do group mentoring. So students also used to come out very, openly about what issues he had with Monra. Right? Sir, आपने ऐसा बोला, हमको ऐसा समझे. ठीक है. Feedback is feedback. It's a mentor-mentee. Right? So the whole issue is that, and you always look at IIM, sir. I'm sorry to, I'm also a VCLR, but there are certain very good things that they have. If we go and live that place and experience it, we can adapt it here. That is, that there's a very close proximity between faculty and students. That's what differentiates them. So IES got differentiated over the years because we worked along with the students, got the alumni also to participate in activities, right? And we did it together. In doing it together, we got growth also faster in terms of good jobs, good companies coming to campus, right? Able to expand the syllabus to be more practical in nature, to introduce self-learning courses, right? We got internships very in advance. We had to do a lot of discussion with the government authorities because they're looking at attendance, but we are sending students to doing internships, right? We sent students for Make in India of the Narendra Modi got Make in India in 2016 in Bombay. So all our students, 68 students, helped CII to set the event up. So how much they learned on field, right? And how we use it for our own back into the exercise.
Got it.
I don't know if I made sense to, but
no, it makes sense. It makes sense. It makes a lot of sense, and it gives a lot of information. So that is, of course, good. And so now I have some fun related questions. So the
sure.
questions are like, if education was a brand in 2025, what would be its tagline?
Interesting one. Hey,
at this
two things come to my mind. I don't know if you're allowed two answers to one question.
No,
right?
You can.
I would say, see, after the pandemic and after this whole AI, CI, what is going on in the market, I think the tagline will be beyond degrees towards discoveries.
Beyond degrees towards discoveries.
Beyond degrees. So degree is not relevant anymore. Right? It's beyond degrees. True. And just to keep it in line with what I said at the beginning, right? Education 2025 is learn, unlearn, and reimagine. See, whatever you learned, whatever I went to 5 phases, I had to unlearn also. Right? So that is going to be the kind of branding in the future. So people can't have the same system than for 10 years. Right? For even for when we modified the syllabus in IES prior to COVID, the question came from a couple of accreditation authorities: why have we changed syllabus twice in a year? So our management got disturbed with this question. So quick came the answer: because the industry required it. We cannot keep the same structure syllabus, right? We got to change it. So the whole thing is you have to have the So organization which have this tagline, especially like learn, unlearn, and reimagine, that means they are very vibrant and they're alert to the needs of the future.
Right.
Right. So that's how. So I don't know if it, but in terms of traditional ones, they say beyond degrees, right, toward discovery. You know, because today Coursera and all those things have become more important than institution of a degree reach.
Yeah, if you see,
Yeah.
people are now doing degrees from upgrade for digital marketing. They are not going to traditional institutions.
Yes.
And Bits Pilani has partnered with upgrade for this course that they are giving.
Even digital marketing was through Mica, Ahmedabad.
Yeah, Mica. Yeah, right.
Upgrade
Sorry,
wala.
not Bits Pilani. It says from Mica. Right.
Mica.
Yes.
Because
So,
अपना जो Ronnie School वाला owns both the companies.
right.
If I'm not
Yeah.
mistaken. Yeah.
Yeah. And then another funny
Good.
question is, what are your top 5 marketing skills every future marketer entrepreneur must develop, especially with the rise of AI replacing repetitive jobs? Very important.
So if this is done, then I can confidently tell you that whether AI, GI, FI, whatever comes in future, our marketing student will not be disturbed by that. Develop strategic thinking.
Hmm.
You know,
Hmm.
so when I look at I'm very happy that you could give me the question how I moved from that to here. Right, it made me explore my 40 years that I spent in industry, how it went through. Right, so you should have that. And other is, I think it's common across all is should you know tell stories. कुछ भी तो
Storytelling.
एक कहानी बनना चाहिए और एक मस्त कहानी बनना चाहिए. And it should not be repetitive in nature. Right? The repeating part is the issue of evolution of the brand itself. Right? Because branding is not one brand, it's several brands. And third is you should have emotional intelligence and empathy. You should be able to judge the human behavior. See, today consumer behavior has substituted by behavioral economics. No longer teach consumer behavior, they teach behavioral economics. So everything has got a emotional part and there's a monetary part related to it, and empathy. You should. ठीक है, you lost the order, or you could not satisfy the order by running from the customer. Be in customer shoes and see it, and that is what I learned a lot when I was in Godrej. See, we are a very traditional company in the modern kind of manufacturing method. The delays used to be there. So how do you bat for them? So I had one of the customers attend my review meeting in Godrej to understand कि तुम्हारा delay कहाँ पे हो रहा है. And he shared with us as to what is going on in his company and how we can help to match it. That one step of ours, again, I will give credit to my boss itself, like to know more. He said, लेके आओ उसको. तो उसको लेके आने का पूरा ट्रांसफॉर्मेशन हो गया हमारे सोच विचार. तो एम्पैथी दिखाओगे ना, एम्पैथी मतलब not sympathize, empathy. You are in his shoes and how do you see the problem? So he could see our problem from his shoes, from our shoes, and we could see his problem from his shoes. So empathy हो जाता है. And then is you have to have creative problem solving. Creative problem solving, not creativity only. हर problem को एक नया solution. So I keep telling, I used to tell my employees before, my people who work with me, they don't create problem and solve them. You know, solve karo creatively, right?
Right.
And today's technology is all about data. So you have to be very fluent with data. So you're
Right.
able to check the numbers out. इतना percentage cover हुआ, इतना ROI आ गया, इतना RR हो गया, इतना GR आ गया. Yeah, you should be able to throw data out, and you should embrace artificial intelligence. You cannot say it is my competitor. You're going to throw me out. Embrace it. Learn everything along with you to see how you can perform better. So I saw I just remembered somebody's quotation saying, think of AI as a creative intern. You know, not as your, आप क्या internship कर रहे हो?
Hmm.
You know, how AI can do. So it's a way of looking at things. So future marketing is just not a tech user, it is a meaning maker. You should make a meaning in the years that come ahead. And I think it is possible. We Indians talk a lot, but we do things differently.
Yes, that is true. Oh, got it. Now,
जी सर.
coming to the last one. So, imagine if you are a 25-year-old self right now. So, what would be your top 5 advices to yourself that you will give?
Yeah. I don't want to get into the dynamics of it, but this wonderful gray hair that I have, na, they have a 9 standard, but I won't tell you reasons for that. Right.
Okay,
So the
sir.
issue is, and I told you I'm teaching students. So every year I
Yes.
become 1 year younger. So you can see
Right,
how young I've become now over the last 24 years, right? So the issue is that first is have confidence and focus.
right,
There should be confidence. खुद पे confidence होना चाहिए, right? And focus. So you should not get diverted by other things at all. And especially marketing, you get diverted by competition, you get diverted by your colleague doing better than you. You get diverted by the requirement of your boss. All that should bring you to focus and not get carried away by this thing, right? That's one. Second is that, as I said before, never say no.
right,
मार्केटिंग वाला नो बोलेगा तो कुछ चक्कर है उसमें, because you're closing doors for all opportunities actually. I say one no will close a lot of opportunities, so you should never say no. And other is be curious but not ambitious. Questions पूछो, पूछने में क्या जाता है, but
right,
ambitious मत हो जाओ. Ambitious हो जाओगे तो फिर वो clash हो जाएगा, because some companies will know you're ambitious and they'll take you for higher targets, and the whole thing you will get punctured in no time. Because there are cases of companies who give stiff targets, make you achieve it, they increase target, give you incentives, but then a whole your body cannot take it.
right,
So you should not be too ambitious. And one fourth one I remember is the network. Whoever you meet, whatever you do, network. Network in the sense not in terms of only for yourself. See how you can give back. आपको खुद का फायदा क्या कर, नेटवर्क करो. See the advantage of whole thing, right? And many more are there. You have to be solution oriented. You have to play the long game. See, in marketing, this is very important. You have to play a long game. You can't say मेरा ये 8 target हो गया तो काम हो गया. अगले अगले 10 साल के लिए आप क्या करोगे? What is your future? Do you see new markets? That's how I moved actually, sir. I was
okay,
earlier in the traditional storage side of business in Godrej, right? Then I moved to the high technology side of making equipment, refineries for space, for defense. There I moved to electronics, right? Computers into typewriters, printers. Then I came to software industry in datamatics, where from the traditional storage systems, we went on to selling tailor-made software for exports. From there, I came to domestic business. So the whole thing is that you have to play the long game. You have to see, have a vision. See, sir, बोलते हैं कि you can't forecast. All of us are cursed. You can't forecast, but you can always see.
right.
आपका आगे क्या कैनवस से देख सकते हैं आप. तो मार्केटिंग वाले को ये एडवाइस है कि संक्षिप्त में बोलता हूं कि आपको दिख रहा है आप क्या बन सकते हो, उसको डिनाय मत करो. आप उसको कैसे बनना है उसका एक रास्ता दिखा. दिस इज I hope it's gone. I think it's gone beyond 5.
No, no, it is okay. The more the information, the better it is. But yeah, I think our audience must have gathered it very much in a perfect manner. And I think the amount of value you have given in this podcast is amazing. So, on that note, first of all, thank you, sir, for giving all the valuable information on this platform to our audience. Secondly, thanks to our audience who have watched this episode to this point. And we will be wanting, if you guys really like this episode, do connect with sir in case of any questions or post them down in the comment section. We are always open for that, and of course you have our private emailers, so you can send those questions there. We will reach out to sir and get back to you those. And on that note, sir, would you like to say something, or shall we close
Oh
down?
yeah, I would like to say what I keep saying to all my students. I'm sure all your audience are also my students.
Yes, they
Think
are.
simple, live simple. Life is very simple. Only have to breathe.
Right.
यार सोचने का नहीं है, जस्ट जो करना है सब सिंपल है, कोई बड़ी बात नहीं है. तो दैट एंड रेस्ट, God is kind to you, to us, to everybody. Wish you all the best. And thank you so much, Amol. It has been a I hope whatever we discussed will have impact for our better India in the future.
Yes.
That's why we're all in education. We're not here for ourselves. And so is our Prime Minister also telling us that we should look at 100 years ahead. We may not live beyond that time, but
Right.
make a better India. So I'm sure with your program and with your connectivity, you will. This will be a huge contribution. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you so much, sir. That means a lot. On that note, thank you, our audience, for watching this episode. We will be back again with another exciting episode on our podcast series with Young Turks Dialogues. And it might be possible that it would be with sir again. So, on that note, do like, subscribe, share, and thank you once again.